I had an artistic crisis some time ago. I was in the midst of a 4-year conservatory style program in classical percussion performance. And one day I listened to some jazz and I didn't get it. I felt nothing. And that upset me very much. Now, of course, I was in the classical program, not the jazz program. I was in the classical percussion program. Most people, when I tell them I'm a percussionist, they go like this. Oh, cool. So you play drums. And I have to go, yeah, sort of, pretty much, except I don't really play drum set, but anything you hit with a stick that isn't drum set, including drums of any other kind, I do that. And then they go, oh, so like xylophones and stuff? And I have to go, well, yeah. Xylophones and stuff. And that's accurate. I play xylophones and stuff. Now, obviously, there are not a lot of xylophone gigs out there in the world, or a vibraphone, or marimba, or timpani, or any of the other things that I can do very, very well. So when you're a percussionist but not a drummer, it can be kind of discouraging because there just isn't a lot of opportunity to show what you can do, except in two settings: conservatory or conservatory style programs, and major orchestras and symphonies. Now, here's what you need to know about these two things. The first thing costs tens of thousands of dollars and all of your time, and there are basically a select few spots at a select few institutions across the country for you to go to. The second thing can mean you get paid tens of thousands of dollars, but there is such a select few spots at such a select few institutions across the country that most orchestral musicians will take 4 years in undergrad plus 2 in a grad program, and then usually between 2 and 5 more years in a DMA program, that's a Doctorate of Musical Arts, and then the average orchestral musician will spend an additional 2 to 10 years just auditioning for orchestras until they book. So as you can imagine, that is intensely prohibitive to artistic and professional growth, success, and prosperity, at least for the average person who does not have a trust fund or some other means of just not working. And we all deserve growth, success, and prosperity, right? Most musicians who go the classical performance route are forced to bounce from school to school, spending money on this degree and that seminar and this summer festival and that postgrad certificate, and ultimately they land an assistant professorship somewhere at some school, permanently fixating themselves in the cycle that just trapped them for a full decade plus of their lives, because that's the only way they can make a living after funneling all of their money or all of their family's money into the collegiate classical music industrial complex. Okay, so why am I talking about this? The show is called How to Listen to Jazz, right? We're here to learn how to listen to jazz. So the first thing you need to know, which you probably already know, is that jazz is cool. Jazz is expressive. Jazz is emotional and sentimental, and that means jazz is artistic. And classical music, at least the way classical musicians are trained to produce and reproduce classical music, is athletic. Classical music is not about expressing feeling through music. Classical music is about playing as perfectly as possible. Classical musicians play excerpts, little bits from symphonies and sonatas and what have yous, over and over and over again until they can play them perfectly the same way every time. I learned plenty of excerpts in my 4 years in music school, and I did not learn one single thing about how to understand, perform, or interpret jazz. As an example, a percussionist auditioning for the New York Philharmonic has to be able to play 8 different excerpts on snare drum, 8 on xylophone, 5 on glockenspiel, 7 on tambourine, 1 on marimba, 5 on cymbals, 5 on bass drum, 4 on triangle, and 19 on timpani. And that is a lot of fucking music. Just one of those excerpts will mean at bare minimum several hours of dedicated time in a practice room with a metronome, just training your muscles to be able to do the exact same few seconds of music over and over and over again. And I have to admit, sometimes I enjoyed practicing excerpts because it was repetitive and you could really just get into a zone and stop thinking, and it was almost like meditating. And God knows I was going through so much shit in college and so much was happening to the world in and around, fall 2016, that I felt like I had no control over anything and the world was going to shit. And for some reason, I was in a classical music program doing excerpts. But sometimes, if I gave myself to it, I could find a lot of peace and meaning in the simple act of repeating and repeating. But most of the time, I wanted to tear my hair out. I didn't come to music school to sit in the room by myself and play the same 6 bars over and over and over again for hours. I came to become a real musician. I did not touch a percussion instrument until 10th grade. I worked really, really hard to catch up, and I was lucky enough to just barely get into a good program, and then I got there and I realized that everyone around me had been playing music since they were babies, and they had it in their bones, and I did not feel like a real musician. To me, a real musician could play every scale and every key, and knew how to improvise, and knew how to take solos, and knew how to feel their way through music. I could not feel my way through music. I had to go around the other side. I had to think and muscle my way through it. And once I could think and muscle through it, I knew that eventually I would be able to feel it. And once I could feel music, then I would be able to play jazz. And once I could play jazz, then I would finally be a real musician. Yeah! That was weird. Was there just a... Huh. Anyway, if I was a real musician, then it would be worth it to be in music school at a time when it felt like the whole world was falling apart and there were about a billion more useful things I could be doing with my time to contribute to the world. Because real musicians made a difference. Real musicians could make people feel, could change hearts and minds, could influence people and history, and they were useful. And more than anything, I wanted to be useful. Which brings us back to the provocation. how to listen to jazz. So what I'm thinking is teaching is the best way to learn, right? So if I can teach you guys how to listen to jazz, then maybe I'll understand how to listen to jazz. And once I can listen to jazz, then I'll be able to play it and I'll be, say it with me, a real musician. Yay! Who put the quote? Anyway, what is jazz? So jazz is like, it's one of those things where you know it when you hear it, but it's kind of hard to put it down in words. It involves improvisation. Typically, at some point, someone takes a solo. Sorry, that's what we call it, taking a solo. Often musicians will go around trading solos. And to me, that is the pinnacle of musicianship. And it's something I can't do. I freeze up when I try to. Here. This is Charles Minkus's Open Letter to Duke. See, now that guy, whoever's playing that sax, that guy knows something that I don't. He can do that, whatever that is. And when I try to, so the thing about improvising is you aren't actually literally just like playing random notes and just knowing what it's going to sound like as you're doing it. When you play a jazz standard, you already know all the chords and where the melody usually goes. So soloing at a basic level just involves playing within those chords and riffing off the original melody. I guess it would be helpful if I demonstrated. But I don't have anything prepared, so it would be a total garbage fire. So I'm not doing that. Hey, I did not ask for your opinion, Mr. Presentation. Okay. Jeez. Anyway, books will tell you it's about practicing your chord extensions and your 2-5-1 progressions in every key and knowing all your octatonic scales because those work in multiple keys and blah, 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 blah. I don't want to talk about that because that is not artistry, that is athleticism, and that is not what we're looking for. No, yes, presentation. I am looking for the real feeling at the core of it. I don't want to talk about technique. I want to know what the feeling is. I want them to know what the feeling is, and then I'll know. Whatever. Let's keep going. What's next? Oh. Right. So like a tritone substitution is when so you can replace your dominant chord with a diminished chord, a tritone away. Oh, sorry. A tritone is 5 half steps. It's the most dissonant interval. Oh, you guys don't know what a dominant chord is. Right. Music theory. Yes. Yes. I know what these are. I'm pretty. Yes. Yes. I know what these are. Oh. Yeah. I know what this is. Yeah. I can explain. I can explain all of this. I know this. Yeah. I definitely understand. All of this. And now I'm going to explain it to everybody. You know what? We can scrap this, right? Yes, no, we can. Because it's not really about music theory. It's about expression. It's about getting to the heart of expression. And really, it's my show, right? And it's about me not being able to express myself in music. So I think the issue is some kind of emotional block. Okay. What? No, that's not it. No. How are you even arguing with me right now? This is my presentation. Who are you? No! No! How did you get into my presentation? No. I was trying to evade you. I was trying to get past you. No. I did the work already. I did the practice rooms. I did the long hours. I did the metronome. I did all of that. Something's wrong with me. Hello, I listened to Charles Mingus and I didn't feel anything. That's literally all it's about. I mean, wait a second. Are you saying that my fixation on jazz as this mythical, magical thing floating just out of my reach actually is what's preventing me from being able to do it? Are you saying that my inability to just sit and do the simple work of studying and practicing is just a defense mechanism protecting me from the unthinkable shame of being mediocre at something? Fuck! I learned something!